Charlie, a young puppy, faced a desperate struggle for survival from the moment she was abandoned. For an unknown number of days, Charlie had been left in a small dog crate on the side of a highway in Little Rock, Arkansas. The crate, placed amidst the dry grass and rural foliage, was almost invisible, a beige-gray color that blended with the surrounding environment. With no food, water, or the freedom to relieve herself outside, Charlie was trapped in her own filth. She had desperately clawed and bitten at the crate's walls, trying in vain to escape her prison. The intense heat of the crate made her situation even more dire, and the crate's camouflaged appearance meant it went unnoticed by countless passersby. Cars sped by, oblivious to the distressing scene, and no one stopped to investigate the ominous sight. That is, until Brett Wenninger and his son Zach came across the crate on an afternoon motorcycle ride. The Wenningers were already pet owners with big hearts for animals, but they hadn't expected to find such a heart-wrenching situation on their ride. When Zach noticed the crate and questioned its presence, his curiosity and concern led them to investigate further. Why would someone abandon a crate in such a dangerous place, especially in the middle of January? Responsible pet owners wouldn't litter in such a manner. As Brett and Zach approached the crate, they were stunned by what they discovered inside. The crate, already damaged from Charlie's desperate attempts to escape, housed a severely suffering puppy. The intense smell coming from the crate, combined with the visible damage and the state of the dog, revealed the puppy's distressing condition. Charlie had made a valiant attempt to escape, leaving evidence of her struggle in the form of a large hole in the crate. The scene inside was heartbreaking. Charlie, who smelled of decay, was covered in her own excrement, which was caked onto her fur and paws. Her rib cage was visibly protruding, a clear sign of extreme malnutrition. Zach described her as little more than skin and bone. The gravity of her situation was clear. Time was running out for this tiny, suffering creature. Brett and Zach knew they had to act quickly. They carefully removed Charlie from the crate, taking in her frail condition with heavy hearts. The urgency to get her to safety and provide immediate care was paramount. This was not just a case of finding a stray dog. It was a rescue mission for a puppy that had endured unimaginable suffering. They rushed Charlie to the nearest veterinary clinic, where the staff immediately began assessing her condition. The vet's report confirmed their worst fears. Charlie was severely dehydrated, malnourished, and had likely suffered from heat exhaustion. Her prognosis was uncertain, but with intensive care and attention, there was hope. Brett and Zach's quick actions had saved Charlie's life. Their compassionate intervention turned what could have been a tragic end into a story of hope and recovery. Charlie was given the medical attention she desperately needed, and slowly but surely, she began to show signs of improvement. The warmth and love she received from her rescuers, along with the professional care, helped her on the road to recovery. As days turned into weeks, Charlie's transformation was nothing short of miraculous. She began to regain her strength, her fur started to grow back, and her playful spirit slowly emerged. What had once been a pitiful, frightened puppy now blossomed into a happy and healthy dog, thanks to the kindness of those who refused to turn a blind eye to her suffering. Charlie's story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of vigilance and compassion. Brett and Zach's decision to investigate the abandoned crate ultimately gave Charlie a second chance at life. Their willingness to act made all the difference in the world to a puppy who had been left to suffer alone. Charlie was in dire straits. To survive, she needed immediate care, and Brett and Zach Wenninger faced a crucial test. The father and son had stumbled upon her in a severely compromised state, crammed into a crate far too small for her. Her posture was hunched, and her attempts to move were hindered by the cramped space. Realizing the crate's inadequacy, Brett and Zach worked swiftly to open it and free the suffering animal. As they carefully extracted Charlie from the cramped crate, they allowed her the space to stretch out fully for the first time in what must have felt like forever. The men were bracing for her to bolt in a desperate bid for freedom, but Charlie's response was far more subdued. She barely moved, revealing her exhaustion and distress. It was evident she was in no condition to flee. Upon closer inspection, Brett and Zach noticed Charlie's paws were in rough shape. Her nails had grown so long they were curling back into her pads, making every step painful. Her naturally white paws had turned a grimy brown from being trapped in her own waste. Her body was marked with bruises and abrasions, a testament to the confinement in a crate that was far too small. The situation was grave. Brett and Zach understood that their planned motorcycle trip had to be put on hold. Their father-son outing had transformed into an urgent rescue mission. They knew they had to act quickly to save Charlie, who had endured exposure to the harsh mid-January weather. They resolved to give their all to rescue her from near death. The first step was the hardest. They needed to return to their home to gather supplies. With their hearts pounding, they raced back, hoping desperately that Charlie would still be there when they returned. The thought of her running away or being discovered by someone else was nerve-wracking. Upon arriving home, Brett and Zach collected food, medical supplies, and equipment from their own dogs. They loaded everything into their truck and hurried back to the site. The journey back felt interminable, fraught with anxiety over whether Charlie would still be there. They knew that every moment counted. Miraculously, they arrived to find Charlie still in the same spot, emaciated but waiting. She was too weak to move far, a sign that her condition was still critical. Brett and Zach approached cautiously, mindful not to frighten her further. The pup seemed to recognize her rescuers, a glimmer of trust in her eyes. Brett and Zach began feeding Charlie, offering her water and some nourishment. They were gentle, aware that her mouth might still be sore from her desperate attempts to escape. With each bite of food and sip of water, Charlie's strength slowly began to return. Her low growl, a small but significant sign of life, indicated she still had the will to live. Brett carefully led Charlie toward the truck. As he did, he suggested a name inspired by their ordeal and the 1980s film about a daring rescue mission, Charlie Bravo. It seemed fitting for a pup who had survived against the odds and was now on the path to recovery. With Charlie finally safe and in their care, Brett and Zach embarked on the next phase of her rescue. The journey was far from over, but their determined efforts had given Charlie a new lease on life. Their compassionate intervention had turned a harrowing situation into a hopeful beginning, proving that even in the darkest moments, acts of kindness could shine through. The name Charlie Bravo was also a playful nod to the motorcycles Brett and Zach were riding when they first spotted Charlie. Yet, the urgency of Charlie's situation demanded immediate and careful action. The father and son duo needed to prioritize their next steps: clean Charlie, nourish her, find a vet, or search for her owner. Fortunately, with their experience in rescuing dogs, they knew how to handle this challenging situation. Deciding to start with cleaning her up, Brett and Zach headed straight home. Brave little Charlie remained resilient, enduring the ride in the truck and adjusting to Brett's house. While Brett bathed Charlie, scraping away the old, caked-on filth, Zach reached out to find a vet who could see her on short notice. Their efforts were paying off. After being cleaned, Charlie began to feel more at ease around her rescuers. However, time was still of the essence. They needed to ensure Charlie's health and address her injuries. They quickly transported her to the vet, where it became clear just how dire her situation had been. The vet found Charlie severely malnourished and under-socialized, having likely spent most of her life confined to that dreadful crate. Zach was particularly shocked by the extent of her suffering. With the immediate health crisis under control, Brett and Zach faced another dilemma. Should they leave Charlie in the vet's care or take her home themselves? After a brief discussion, it was clear they had grown attached to Charlie. They decided to keep her temporarily, providing her with a safe and loving environment while they searched for a permanent home for her. Brett and Zach explained that although they didn't have the resources to adopt another dog permanently, an unexpected miracle soon unfolded. The Little Rock community responded with remarkable generosity. People rallied together, fundraising to cover Charlie's food, vet bills, and even more. The surplus funds were gifted to Brett and Zach, who chose to donate the extra money to animal rescue charities. They used only what was necessary to help Charlie, redirecting the rest to benefit other animals in need. This generous act of giving highlighted the positive impact of their rescue efforts. As Charlie continued to recover in her supportive new environment, she shed much of her initial skittishness and began to thrive. The loving care from Brett and Zach transformed her into a happy, well-adjusted dog. She quickly became an integral part of the Wenninger family. In time, the bond between Charlie and her new family grew strong. The Wenningers decided to make Charlie a permanent member of their household. She officially became a beloved part of the family, cherished by Brett, Zach, and everyone who had been touched by her story. Today, Charlie is a beautiful, well-behaved dog who brings joy to her family and enriches the lives of the entire Little Rock community. Her story stands as a testament to the power of compassion and the importance of rescuing animals. Charlie's journey from a neglected puppy to a cherished family member serves as a beacon of hope, showing that with care and kindness, anyone can overcome a rough beginning and flourish.